You think medieval peasants were forever trapped in poverty and starvation. But here's the shocking truth. Peasants survived famines using weeds. That 85% of modern people would die rather than eat. I'm about to reveal 12 life-saving plant secrets that will change everything you thought you knew about survival. Fact 1. The dandelions medieval peasants called dandelions piscibede and fairy clocks. But these weeds contained more iron and protein than modern spinach. While nobles feasted on imported delicacies, smart peasants cultivated entire fields of dandelions. Every part was edible roots, became coffee substitutes, leaves made bitter salads, and flowers brewed into wine. This wasn't desperation, it was nutritional genius. Fact 2. Nettles cabinet. Stinging nettles weren't just survival food, they were medieval Europe's pharmacy and textile factory rolled into one. The 15th century Finnish herb book of knitted prescribed nettle for jaundice, swollen stomachs, and lung injuries. Peasants made nettle ale soup and porridge while using the fibers for ropes and fabric. The sting disappeared when cooked, revealing leaves packed with vitamins A, B, calcium, and iron. Medieval mothers fed nettle soup to children as medicine, while warriors used nettle whips for circulation. One plant provided food, medicine, textiles, and even livestock feed through its protein-rich seeds. Fact 3. Lamb's quarters called goosefoot by medieval farmers. Lamb's quarters was cultivated 6,000 years before wheat became popular. This dusty, silver-leaved weed produced thousands of tiny black seeds that peasants ground into nutritious flour during grain famines. Smart peasants knew lamb's quarters leaves contained more protein and vitamins than spinach, while requiring zero cultivation effort. The plant thrived in poor soil where wheat failed, producing emergency bread that kept families alive when grain harvests collapsed. Medieval wisdom recognized that one lamb's quarters plant could produce enough seeds to feed a family for weeks. Fact 4. Purslane. While medieval nobles suffered from joint pain and heart problems, peasants who ate purslane unknowingly consumed more omega-3 fatty acids than modern fish supplements provide. This succulent weed with thick, fleshy leaves grew wild in monastery gardens and peasant plots throughout Europe. Medieval herbalists called it porcane and prescribed it for stomach ailments, but peasants simply ate it raw in salads for its crisp, lemony crunch. The plant required no cultivation. Modern analysis reveals purslane contains the highest omega-3 content of any green leafy vegetable, plus vitamins A, C, and E. Medieval peasants accidentally consumed one of nature's most nutritious plants, while nobles ate refined foods that lacked essential nutrients. This lowly weed provided better nutrition than royal banquets. Fact 5. Orache. Medieval illuminated manuscripts feature Orache's stunning purple-red leaves in their decorative borders, proving this weed was culturally important beyond mere survival food, also called mountain spinach. Orache grew wild along European coastlines and thrived in salty soils where other vegetables died. Peasants discovered orache leaves grew faster than spinach, resisted summer heat, and provided essential minerals. Missing from inland diets, the plant's colorful leaves ranging from purple-red to golden. Yellow added visual appeal to otherwise drab medieval meals. Smart coastal communities ground orache seeds into porridge during lean times, while the leaves fed families throughout summer when other greens bolted in the heat. Medieval monks in seaside monasteries cultivated orache in their gardens, knowing it could survive salt, spray, and poor soil. Modern research shows orache contains more vitamins K and C than regular spinach, plus salt tolerance genes that help plants survive climate stress. Medieval peasants unknowingly selected and preserved a superfood that could revolutionize modern sustainable agriculture. Fact 6. Chickweed, called starwort for its tiny, star-shaped white flowers. Chickweed was medieval Europe's secret multivitamin that grew year-round in the worst conditions. While nobles paid fortunes for imported spices, peasants harvested chickweed from their doorsteps, a plant that provided more vitamin C than oranges and grew through winter snow. Medieval mothers fed chickweed to children as a gentle spring tonic after months of preserved foods. The tender leaves required no cooking and tasted like sweet corn silk. Wise peasants knew chickweed could be harvested in January when no other fresh food existed. German peasants called it Vogelmeer birds' food because they noticed birds stayed healthier when eating chickweed seeds. Medieval herbalists prescribed chickweed poultices for skin wounds and rashes, but peasants simply ate the whole plant raw. The plant's ability to grow in temperatures near freezing made it invaluable for winter survival. Modern analysis reveals chickweed contains saponins, natural soap compounds that help cleanse the body and boost immune function. This humble weed provided medieval peasants with disease-fighting compounds that nobles never accessed. Fact 7. Cleavers. Medieval children called them sticky willies for their Velcro-like ability to cling to clothing. But cleavers were actually life-saving food that medieval peasants harvested from hedgerows when grain stores ran empty. These sprawling green vines with hooked stems provided emergency nutrition that could feed entire villages during spring famines. Peasants knew cleavers peaked in nutritional value just before flowering, when the tender shoot tips contained maximum vitamins and protein. Women would send children to gather cleavers by the basketful, then prepare them like spinach or dry them for winter soups. The plant's climbing nature meant one patch could yield pounds of food from a small area. Medieval monasteries cultivated cleavers deliberately, with monks recording their use in illuminated herbal texts. The young leaves made nutritious teas that helped cleanse winter toxins from the body. Seeds were roasted as coffee substitutes, while mature plants became livestock fodder. The plant's aggressive growth in waste areas and disturbed soil made it perfect for post-harvest gleaning. Modern research reveals cleavers contain chlorophyll, vitamins A and C, plus compounds that support liver function. Medieval peasants, unknowingly, consumed one of nature's best detoxifying plants while surviving between harvest seasons. Fact 8. Plantain. Called waybread by Anglo-Saxon peasants and soldiers, herb by medieval warriors. Plantain was medieval Europe's portable pharmacy that grew literally everywhere humans walked. This humble weed with ribbed leaves provided both food and medicine that could stop bleeding, heal wounds, and prevent infection, knowledge that separated surviving peasants from dead ones. Medieval mothers taught children to chew plantain leaves for bee stings and cuts, while soldiers carried dried plantain to treat battle wounds. The young leaves made bitter but nutritious salads, while seeds were ground into flour during famines. Peasants knew plantain thrived along roadsides and paths because it contained compounds that helped it resist foot traffic damage. Medieval herbalists recorded plantain treatments for everything from snake bites to tuberculosis. The plant's ability to grow in compacted soil made it available even in the most disturbed environments around peasant settlements. German peasants called plantain Wageric way ruler because it dominated every pathway. Medieval physicians prescribed plantain for internal bleeding and digestive problems, but peasants simply ate the leaves as spring greens. Modern research confirms plantain contains allantoin, a compound that accelerates wound healing and cell regeneration. This roadside weed provided medieval peasants with pharmaceutical-grade healing compounds that modern medicine is rediscovering. Fact 9. Wild garlic. Medieval peasants called wild garlic ramsons and knew its pungent bulbs could prevent the scurvy that killed sailors and nobles who ate refined foods. These wild onion relatives carpeted forest floors in early spring, providing sulfur compounds that boosted immune systems weakened by winter's preserved diet. Smart peasants mapped every wild garlic patch in their territory like a secret survival network. Peasants discovered wild garlic's antibacterial properties, kept other foods from spoiling, a crucial preservation method before refrigeration. The leaves, flowers, and bulbs were all edible, providing different flavors and nutritional benefits throughout the growing season. Medieval monasteries deliberately encouraged wild garlic growth in their woodland areas, with monks recording its cultivation in herbal manuscripts. German peasants called it Burlach bear's garlic because bears emerged from hibernation to eat it for health restoration. The plant's ability to break dormancy early in spring made it the first fresh food available after winter's end. Viking settlements show evidence of wild garlic consumption, suggesting its use spread throughout northern Europe during medieval expansion. Peasants knew wild garlic's strong flavor meant it could stretch bland grain porridge into flavorful meals. Medieval physicians prescribed wild garlic for plague prevention, while peasants ate it regularly and noticed better health during epidemic years. Modern research reveals wild garlic contains allicin and organosulfur, compounds that provide powerful antibiotic and antiviral protection. This forest weed gave medieval peasants pharmaceutical level disease resistance that kept them healthier than the wealthy. Fact 10. Rose hips. While wealthy nobles developed scurvy from their refined diets, medieval peasants who ate rose hips consumed 20 times more vitamin C than modern oranges provide. These bright red fruits from wild rose bushes were medieval Europe's secret weapon against the sailor's disease that killed thousands of upper-class people who avoided common foods. The first frost, when cold temperatures concentrated the nutrients, they gathered them by the bushel, drying some for winter use and making others into preserves, wines, and medicinal syrups. Medieval monasteries cultivated wild roses specifically for their hips, with monks recording their medicinal properties. In illuminated herbals, the fruits could be eaten fresh, dried like raisins, or ground into flour for emergency bread. Peasants discovered rosehip seeds when properly processed, added nutrition to winter gruel. German peasants called rosehips Hagebutten and used them to treat joint pain and winter weakness. Medieval mothers gave rosehip syrup to children. As a spring tonic after months of stored foods, the plants grew wild in hedgerows and waste areas, requiring no cultivation but providing reliable nutrition by medieval. Physicians prescribed rosehip preparations for hot diseases and digestive problems. Modern analysis reveals rosehips contain more vitamin C than citrus fruits, plus bioflavonoids, vitamin E, and essential fatty acids. This common hedge weed provided medieval peasants with antioxidant protection that prevented diseases plaguing the wealthy classes who considered such foods beneath their status. Fact 11. Mallow. Medieval peasants called mallow cheese plant because it's round. Flat fruits resembled tiny cheese wheels, but this common weed provided both food and medicine that could soothe inflamed stomachs and heal internal injuries. The original marshmallows were actually made from mallow root mucilage, not sugar, a healing food that peasants used to treat everything from coughs to wounds. Peasants knew every part of the mallow plant was useful. Leaves made nutritious soups, flowers were eaten raw or dried for tea, and roots provided healing gel for burns and cuts. The plant thrived in disturbed soil around settlements, making it constantly available. Medieval Arabic physicians brought advanced mallow knowledge to European monasteries during the 12th century. Monks recorded that mallow leaves, when cooked, provided essential nutrients missing from grain-based diets. The plant's ability to grow in poor soil made it valuable for communities. Recovering from crop failures or warfare, Palestinian peasants during medieval times called mallow kobeza little bread and ate it during famines, a tradition continuing today in Gaza. Medieval German peasants called it kaspapal cheese poplar and fed mallow leaves to livestock during lean times. The mucilaginous compounds in mallow provided natural medicine for digestive problems common from eating coarse medieval bread. Medieval herbalists prescribed mallow for respiratory infections and urinary tract problems, but peasants simply ate it as a vegetable for better health. Modern research confirms mallow contains anti-inflammatory compounds, vitamin A, and mucilage that soothes damaged tissues. This dooryard weed provided medieval peasants with pharmaceutical-grade healing compounds disguised as humble food, giving them medical treatment the wealthy paid fortunes to access. Fact 12. Wood sorrel. Medieval peasants called wood sorrel Aluya because it emerged around Easter, providing the first sour-sweet taste after months of bland preserved foods. This clover-like plant with heart-shaped leaves and tiny yellow flowers contained more vitamin C than lemons and grew in shaded areas where other vegetables failed, making it essential for preventing scurvy in forest-dwelling communities. Peasants discovered wood sorrel's oxalic acid content helped preserve other foods and aided digestion of heavy grain porridge. The plant's ability to grow under dense forest canopy made it available when crop fields were destroyed by warfare or weather. Medieval monks cultivated wood sorrel in their shaded monastery gardens, recording its use for treating fever and digestive ailments. The leaves could be eaten fresh, dried for winter use, or fermented into preserves that provided vitamin C during scurvy season. German peasants called wood sorrel sauerklee, sour clover, and used it to flavor otherwise monotonous medieval meals. Viking sagas mention wood sorrel consumption during long sea voyages, suggesting knowledge of its scurvy-preventing properties spread throughout medieval Europe. Peasant children learned to recognize wood sorrel's distinctive shamrock leaves and sour taste, making it a reliable emergency food source. Medieval physicians prescribed wood sorrel for hot diseases and blood purification. The plant's aggressive, spreading through underground rhizomes meant one patch could feed multiple families during spring hunger months. Medieval Celtic communities considered wood sorrel sacred, associating its three-leaf structure with religious symbolism while harvesting it for practical nutrition. Modern analysis reveals wood sorrel contains vitamin C, iron, potassium, and antioxidant compounds. This forest floor weed provided medieval peasants with citrus-level vitamin C and mineral nutrition that prevented diseases. Common among indoor-dwelling nobles who avoided wild foods, these medieval weed facts reveal survival wisdom that makes modern vitamin supplements seem like expensive placebos. While we panic about organic prices, medieval peasants harvested pharmaceutical-grade nutrition from their doorsteps. The most shocking part: these weeds provided better nutrition than the refined foods killing wealthy nobles. You could start building your own survival plant knowledge by learning to identify just 3 of these species immediately in your own neighborhood. Modern foraging experts studying these medieval patterns report discovering free food sources worth hundreds of dollars annually. Want to master these plant secrets that kept peasants healthier than kings? Subscribe for our complete guide to survival plants that actually work in today's uncertain world. Don't let grocery dependency limit you, when centuries of proven plant wisdom is waiting to transform your food security forever.